Joining us right now from Montreal, no stranger to the show from Goal.com and Sporting News, Nick Sabetti. Nick, welcome, my friend. How you been?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure's all mine. Nick, I wanted to get you on in about 5 or 6 minutes that we have before we get to Jeff Carlisle of ESPN to discuss this live on air instead of on Twitter, because you and I both know Twitter. There's only so much you can say. There's only so much we can go back and forth on. So it revolves around Giovinco again being snubbed by the Italian team, and we know why he was snubbed. We don't need to get into that. But the debate I want to have with you that you brought out there is you believe that MLS, and I don't want to take words out of your mouth, you tell me, that is basically at the same level or even below Liga Pro in Italy, which is considered like a fourth, fifth division. Correct or not, Nick?
Well, I mean, what I said is that that the general level. I mean, look, MLS. If you look at the players in MLS, for me, if you break it down, there's about 3 or 4 types of players. You have the designated players, right? Then you have the players which are coming through targeted allocation money, making above the $300,000 range. Then you have players who are sort of the middle of the pack, the 100 to 300, and then you have a lot of the players who are making below 100. Now, I would argue that the players in the latter two categories, which make up the bulk of MLS, the vast majority of MLS, I would say that they're not players who would be able to play in Serie A or in, say, a top first division in Europe. I would put them in the second or even third division category. And I think that's the difficulty of MLS, because you do have some very good players.
So let me ask you this, Nick. Let me ask you this, Nick.
Second, and then you have lower caliber players.
Well, no, and I agree with a lot with what you're saying, but let me ask you this. Let's say in mid-season form, the Impact were to play in mid-season form Catanzaro or Cosenza, or even, let's go a little bit higher, Crotone. You believe in your heart of hearts, both are in mid-season form, both have their best lineups in order. You believe one, which would be Crotone, Cosenza, Catanzaro, would absolutely hand the Montreal Impact their lunch?
It's a good question. I mean, I think that, well, maybe not Crotone, Catanzaro, and I think that a series, I mean, we're talking hypothetically here, but my feeling, my sense is that, I mean, not even my sense. I mean, the way I see it is that the average, the level of I think the average level of play in, say, a second division in Serie B is higher than MLS. The average player, I think, is higher. Yeah, and then I would say that there are many players in MLS who would also struggle in a third division, even of the top European country. And now, if an MLS team, on the whole, I think, because look, if you take the starting 11 of an MLS team, okay, it's not bad. But then you look at the roster spots 12 to 20, and you see a big drop in quality. And that's what I'm getting at. I mean, it's so you have a very wide range of talent in MLS. So,
let me give you 2 players that I'm going to throw you. You tell me if they would be able to play on Bologna right now, another team that is owned by the Montreal Impact owner, Joey Saputo. I believe they could fit in there very easily. Let's take Oyongo from the Montreal Impact and Justin Morrow. Just for argument's sake, both play more or less the similar style of position on each team. They're getting ready to battle. I believe, honestly, in my heart of hearts, one, if not both, could easily crack that starting lineup. What do you say?
Yeah, I think Oyongo, well, I'm not sure that Oyongo could. That's a good question. I mean, I think a player like Oyongo could play in a Serie A. And I think I actually asked Donadel, Marco Donadel here in Montreal, I asked him, who are the players that you think in MLS could make that jump right now and play in, say, a Serie A, for example. He mentioned, and he kind of didn't look beyond Montreal too much, but he was just looking at Montreal, and he said that Oyongo could play in Serie A. He also mentioned Cabrera that he liked a lot, that could play in Serie A. So, as far as Justin Morrow, I'm not as certain about that. I'm not sure that. I mean, look, Oyongo is a very good player. He's a Cameroonian international. I mean, he's a very good player. About Justin Merlo, I'm less certain about that. But I will say that there are players in MLS who can play in Europe. There's no other top team in Europe. There's no question about that. But I'm just saying that on the whole, there are. I mean, if you look at across the league, across the rosters, there's a wide range of talent, and there's a lot of players who wouldn't be able, who would even, I would say, struggle even in a top third division.
Can we also be honest, Nick, that the play in Italy has gone down in the last 10 years? I mean, I would say maybe in the last 3 years it started to pick up again, maybe the last 2. But I got to be honest, I've been following Serie A since I've been 3-4 years old. I go way back to the Bruno Conte years and all those type of beautiful players up to Baggio and Platini and on and on. And those days are long gone. I mean, I look at Serie A, and there's only 2 teams right now on Champions League stage that can really compete. And that's Juve, of course, and Roma, and maybe Napoli. That's it. The rest, there's a huge drop-off of quality.
I agree that Serie A is not the league that it was, 10 years ago, or even before that. It's true that they don't. I would say the top clubs are no longer the same. Before, obviously, you had AC Milan, you had Inter Milan that were up there competing in Europe. Juventus, obviously, there as well, still there, but still, I think that if you look at a country like Italy in terms of the amounts of players that are being developed, look, this is a country that, like the other big European countries. Soccer countries, that they've been around for 100 years, and their pool of professional players, I don't have the hard numbers on me right now, but I would think that it's 3 times the size of that in North America, perhaps more. And it's just, I think the average player. So yes, maybe Italy right now, I think is in a bit of a, I want to say crisis, but is really kind of, I think, struggling, or at least in the last 10 years, has struggled to produce sort of that world-class player like they used to. But I still think that the average player that is being produced, or the average player that is available in Serie A, the median sort of player, is of a higher level than say the average in MLS.
Nicholas,
that's just my thing.
No, and I appreciate it. You brought a lot to the table to chew on and to digest, and that's why I wanted to have you on, because, listen, you follow the lower leagues in Italy as well as Serie A, and that's why I wanted to have you on, because you understand it. I understand what we're dealing with in comparison to the conversation we're having with. So I'm glad that you brought everything to the table, so a lot of people out there, when we're discussing this, can actually understand your side, my side, and we can put our own thoughts together and our own beliefs and our own, realistic, facts that we think could be played out. And it's great that we discussed this. And, I really appreciate you doing this, Nick. Let's get talking again as that big derby is happening there in Montreal and Toronto, because these are exciting times for Canada. So, again, Nick, thank you so much for making time. Don't be a stranger. And love the work that you've done. Give us your Twitter as we let you go, and where can people read what you're doing right now?
Oh, well, you can find me on Twitter at Nick Sabetti, and a lot of stuff coming up with obviously this very big game. So great moment for Canadian soccer, so very much looking forward to that. We'll have a lot of stuff on that.
Absolutely. I hope to see you up here in Toronto. I'm going to try to make it out to Montreal, but I'd love to see you out here. A lot of the guys from Montreal, Joey Alfieri from TSN, a lot of the guys are making that out here. It's going to be nice to catch you up with everyone. Again, Nick, thanks so much, and have a great rest of your evening, my friend.
Hey, anytime. Take care.